So I've got 6 books to talk to you about today. Yes, you heard me correctly. That's 6 books. 6 books I guess maybe I finished in the last 2 weeks. Would that be correct? I'm just going to double check I guess, yeah, just about. The first of these, everything up to the 8th of April, I've talked to you about already. So from the 8th of April to now, I guess, yeah. So these are the 6 books that I've read in the last couple of weeks. Hello, everybody. Welcome to and welcome back to my channel. Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And of course, you may get lucky, or you may not, but you might see Elvis pottering around in the background. It's hit and miss, to be honest. So yeah, I've got 6 books. I can't believe it myself. Yeah, it's amazing. Unfortunately, though, as often on this channel, a few of them were ebooks, so I don't have the physical copies of them. But it doesn't matter. I'll be able to stick up some picture here to aid with the whole viewing process. So yeah, it's been a great run. I can say to you that in some way or another, perhaps all these books are varying degrees of corker or corkerness. However, yeah, they're very different, very eclectic mix, we can say. And they were, I suppose, really all 5-star reads for me. But, I'm a very generous person, so you may not agree. You'll have to let me know, of course, in the comments if you've read any of these. And if you agree with me, you may vehemently disagree, or you may, of course, agree with me as well. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get cracking. So the first book I'm going to talk about is a book called Sea People by Christina Thompson. This was really interesting, actually, and I picked it up on a whim. It's kind of part history, anthropology, that kind of thing. And what it does is it explores how the Polynesians managed to navigate and populate the islands of the Pacific Ocean. And it shows you just how vast that Pacific Ocean is and really how extraordinary and in many ways mysterious that these islands came to be populated, especially by people so interconnected in terms of their culture and languages. It's really, really quite an amazing feat of navigation, but it's just, yeah, it was just a fantastic read. Just really, really intriguing. Long before, of course, Europeans discovered these places, there were other people living there. And the main question is, how on earth did they get there? Without modern technology, even the same navigational technology of the time they didn't have. They didn't have, of course, the style of sailing ships. Mostly they navigated by, of course, stars and sun and that kind of thing. And they were in these canoes, and sometimes the canoes were very flimsy. I wouldn't fancy paddling around a pond in some of these canoes, but these people did thousands and thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean to move from one island to the other. The book itself is full of fascinating history, mythology, and science, wrapped up, of course, in that packaging of mystery. It was very absorbing. Christina Thompson's a really good writer. Even there were some areas that could be considered for some people maybe a little dry, such as the theology and entomology and linguistics part of it. Maybe would not be to everybody's taste, but I found it fascinating. And yeah, I kind of want to visit these places maybe, although not on a canoe, and certainly I won't be trying any kind of celestial navigation. So, well, sticking with the ocean and a nautical theme, for my Patreon book club this month, we were reading this book, Cochrane the Dauntless, The Life and Adventures of Thomas Cochrane. And it was in response to the fact that last month we read the first in the Aubrey Maturin series, The Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien. And Cochrane is said to be one of the main inspirations of not just Jack Aubrey from that series, but also seafaring characters in the books of Captain Marryat, as well as C.S. Forester's what's his name? Horatio Hornblower. So there we go. And this was an absolute raucous epic. I mean, it's incredible to think that one person could achieve so much in one life, and it was it was a fairly long life, especially for the day. He died aged he was almost 85 when he died, and he was somebody who embraced modern technology. He was at the cusp of towards the end of the Napoleonic wars, in terms of being a generation also younger than the likes of Nelson, and especially somebody like Admiral the Lord Collingwood. He took part in for the Royal Navy, he didn't take part in any massive fleet actions. He was more of a lone wolf. In fact, the French even called him the Sea Wolf, because he did such daring things and would sail right into ports and burn ships and that kind of stuff. He was also an inventor. He was arrested twice. He was imprisoned twice. He escaped from prison twice. He was a key player in the wars of independence for countries in South America, specifically Chile and Brazil. Also in Europe, he commanded the Greek Navy in their war of independence from Ottoman Turkey. Just an amazing character. I can't actually recommend this enough. You don't even, I think, even have to have an interest in nautical books. If you just like incredible biographies of incredible people, then I think this would be a good book for you. I think it's hard not to as well get caught up in Cordingley's enthusiasm for his subject as well. He certainly writes it with a wee twinkle in his eye. Check out Cochrane the Dauntless if you fancy something exciting. Now, next up, the third book I'm going to talk about is something a little bit different and unexpected delight. It was a buddy read with Farah from the book Stalgic. It was Mozart Stling by Leander Lynn Haupt. And it was, as it says there, a delightful book, the Evening Standard says. And it was a definitely delightful book. And the Sunday Express is correct as well in saying it was compelling. It's a curious blend of biography, nature writing, personal memoir. The title perhaps is a little misleading because you think it's going to talk a lot about Mozart's pet Starling, which he had for 3 years, probably the 3 most creative years of his life. However, unsurprisingly, there's not a lot of information on Mozart Starling per se, and we don't even know the real name of the Starling. In fact, the author here has to name it herself rather than just writing it. But the author goes, she gets into her subject by getting herself a pet Starling from a hatchling that she raises called Carmen, and she uses that as a kind of conduit to experience what it must have been like for Mozart having a Starling. And it also has some, of course, biography of Mozart as well as the personal memoir of Leander Lynn Haupt too. It's gentle, it's thoughtful, occasionally very funny, and I certainly learned a lot about starlings and birds that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And to be honest, I really wish I could get a pet starling now, although somehow I suspect Elvis wouldn't approve of that maybe. But then maybe he would. Who knows? It'd be nice to get a bird of some sort, wouldn't it, perhaps? So, yeah. That was great. Really good, and thoroughly recommend it. And, I'm curious to know, although she may have finished it, she was very close behind me, Farah, but she may have finished it by the time this video goes out, and perhaps she'll let you know her thoughts as well. So next up, we have 3 books by the same author/authors, and they were great fun. First up, we have Extinction by Douglas Preston. Perhaps not my normal kind of reading. It's a techno thriller. And it's got like, it does, I guess it's what I'm learning that Preston is doing very well, which is kind of smart science, edge of your seat plot, and just enough of a kind of philosophical musing that kind of keeps you up at night, because it's about, I mean, on a basic level, it's just a kind of Jurassic Parkish situation where there's a nature reserve where they've brought back the woolly mammoths among other herbivores from the period, and there's a brutal murder. And then, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away as to who may have committed the murder and what's going on there. But let's just say it kind of encapsulates things that are happening now. I mean, I think the book was published last year, so it's got artificial intelligence, evolution, genetic engineering, bringing things back from the dead. Because there was a weird thing while I was reading it. I woke up in the morning and I heard them on the radio talking about de-extincting something. And de-extinction and de-extincting was a phrase I'd only heard previously in that book, like the day before. And here they were talking about it on the radio. And they de-extincted the direwolf, right? So I kind of thought I was dreaming, because they then started talking about the woolly mammoths and whatever. And Preston says in the back of the book, he talks about the real science behind it. And there's like a company that's working on these things. And it was the company that de-extincted the direwolf. So it's like, oh my God, all these things kind of align. But it was a real thriller as well. And I couldn't put it down. Yeah, so very fun. And then I also read Relic by Preston and Child. So it's Douglas Preston again with his writing partner, Lincoln Child. It's the first in the Pendergast series. I'd only read one previous to that, which was White Fire, because I read it for Holmes is Where the Heart Is last year, because it's a kind of Sherlock Holmes pastiche. But this one is, I guess, a bit of a cult classic. Jim from Mystery and Mayhem raves about it, and certainly his wife raves about it too. She really likes it. So, cult classic, and I see why. It's set in a museum. There's a series of unfortunate events. I think unfortunate probably is not strong enough. A series of brutal events. And it introduces us for the first time to the enigmatic FBI agent, Aloysius Pendergast, who is, it takes a good while before he appears. So, it was great. It was fun. It was a real page turner. I love the whole Amazon adventure at the beginning, and then obviously the mystery that unfolds within the museum with the murders, and then what could be stalking these people in that museum was great. And then finally, we come to another Preston and Child. I'm definitely falling down this Preston and Child rabbit hole, I think. And that was called The Ice Limit. And this was also a real page turner, great fun. It's about a meteorite that is found in somewhere called Île Desolation, I guess, or the Desolation Island. Not the same one, I think, from the Aubrey Maturin series, but maybe. And it's got a billionaire who wants to bring this meteorite back to the museum he's building in New York City in one piece, because he wants to own the biggest meteorite that's ever been found. And it's not actually very large. They find out, they think it is. I can't remember now what they're saying, like maybe 20 foot in diameter, which I guess is fairly large for a meteorite. But it's more the weight of the thing, and goes into the engineering behind of getting it up. But there's a problem with that meteorite. It's highly reactive to something, which we don't know what it is at the moment, because it's caused the deaths of a few people. It does have a bit of over-the-top kind of blockbuster energy, but I think from what I've read of these Preston and Child books, they all do. They all lend themselves to cinema, and that's kind of the fun thing, or the fun aspect about them. I don't want to sound like a snob in saying none of these are going to win any literary prizes in terms of the writing style and the way they're written and the language employed, but they are fun and engaging, and sometimes that's what you need, and maybe at this moment in time that is what I need. But they really pull it off. In this book, this was really, I could barely put it down. It was tense, dramatic, and kind of plausible in some respects, which maybe some parts of maybe Relic or Extinction weren't, but that didn't bother. I mean, you have to suspend your disbelief somehow. But these kind of books are definitely perfect for duvet days, weekends when the weather's dreadful, which can be most weekends, right? Because typically you're going to have bad weather at weekends and beautiful weather during the week when we're all at work. But there we have it. Those are the 6 books I've finished in the last 2 weeks, and it was a great experience. I'm finding myself very lucky. Coming up, I'm going to read a couple of other things, of course, but it's a blank slate right at the moment. So I'm excited to see where my mood takes me. It may well take me back to another Preston and Child. We'll see. But then, sometimes with these things, when you're onto a good thing, you want to take a pause and try something else and then come back to it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've read any of these, let me know what you've been reading. I always love to hear from you all and know what you've been reading as well. So there we have it. And I shall see you again next time. And apologies that the Lord of the Manor failed to appear today. Perhaps we'll get lucky. He's a very mysterious character, isn't he? All right, everybody, do take care. Bye for now.